in A to be -3. So in this equation, I'm going to go ahead and put my -3 right there where I see A. And my B is supposed to be 2. Be careful though, it's supposed to be a minus sign. So I'm going to go ahead and minus my B, which is 2. I see a subtraction sign in integers, so that's my reminder. I'm going to do the additive inverse. Instead of minusing, I need to add, but that changes this to be the inverse and make it -2. So I have -3 plus -2. I'm already negative, and I'm adding more sand to bring it down. That takes me even further down to -5. Okay. You can also think of it like 3 negatives and then plus 2 more negatives if you're a person like integer chips. Okay, let's try another one. 4.2 and 6.5. I'm going to go ahead and put my 4.2 right here for A. I still have a minus sign, so make sure I put that minus sign in there. And then B is -6.5. I used parentheses because I didn't want it to look like a minus and a minus sign. B was a -6.5, so I kept them separate. This is a minus and a -6.5. Since I have a minus sign though, I do need my additive inverse again. So I'm going to leave the 4.2. I changed my subtraction to an add. The inverse of -6.5 is positive 6.5. So I'm looking for 4.2 plus 6.5. Decimals I need to stack on top. I'm always in the habit of putting the bigger decimal on top just in case I need to subtract them. In this case, we're going to go ahead and add. So once my decimals are lined up, I don't need to add any zeros. I can just go ahead and add straight down this time. 5 plus 2 is 7. 6 plus 4 is 10. And my decimal comes straight down. I had $4.20 plus $6.50 would give me a positive answer of $10.70. Last thought, these bars right here mean absolute value. Absolute value is the distance from 0. So remember, we're supposed to solve anything inside of here first, and then we can find our absolute value. So 12 minus 5 is 7. My absolute value bars come down. 7's distance away from 0 is still just 7. If inside my parentheses, or inside my absolute value bars, I had a -7, I treat them like parentheses and solve this first. If there was a -7 inside, that distance would as well be 7. So my absolute value will always result in a positive answer at the end, but I need to solve the inside of that first. One more. Trickiest one on here. I do not have common denominators, so I need to go ahead and solve this inside part first by making common denominators, then we'll deal with our absolute value bars. My common denominator between 8 and 12, I would not recommend making it 96 and timesing them by each other. I do have a smaller one, and I'm going to make them both be out of 24. So in order to get from 8 to 24, I took that times 3. I went across my multiplication chart for 8 and across the line for 12, and I saw they had 24 in common. 8 times 3 is what made the 24, so I need to do that to the top. 7 times 3 is 21. For my 12 times 2 is what made the 24 in the multiplication chart for that one. So 3 times 2 would make 6. I'm left with -21 plus 6. I'm at -20 on my number line, and I'm coming up 6, so that is in the opposite direction. It should leave me at a -15. You can also think of it as they're different signs, so I need to subtract them, or you can go ahead and draw out the minuses and the pluses if that helps you too. One last step though, I need to simplify this before I deal with my absolute value bars. 15 and 24, I can both divide by 3. I always check for 2, 3, and 5. 15 is not even, so I can't divide by 2. And 24, I can't divide by 5 because it doesn't end in 5 and 0. But I can divide these guys both by 3. So inside my absolute value bars, I'm going to be left with -5 over 8. Now I can deal last step with that absolute value bar. The distance from 0 is always positive. I can't go negative distance. So my final answer is 5/8. You want to solve the entire inside part of your absolute value first, following your rules for decimals or fractions. When I get to my final answer, that's when I can make it a positive. Absolute value is distance. That will always be positive. Good work today, guys. I know that was a lot of long notes. Go ahead and grab the practice for 2.2 if you feel ready.